All right, welcome to part one of my EDC Damascus knife build. This is going to be a little 3.5, 4-inch long hunter, full handled hunter knife that's going to be forged out of an 88 layer Damascus billet that I made a few months ago. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to forge that out into a workable billet and then cut it back to shape. So we're actually going to forge more than what we need, just to keep that pattern a little bit tighter than it would if we forged the knife completely to shape. So with that said, please subscribe if you haven't. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them best I can or point you in the right direction to get those questions answered. Without further ado, here's part one of the EDC knife build. So now that I've got this drawn out to, I don't know, probably 6 inches or so, I'm going to take and use the flattening dies to flatten out the surface some. And then what I'm going to do is on this end right here, we're going to start forging in the tip on the anvil. Alright, now we have gotten it to its rough forged-ish shape. What I'm going to do now is switch back to the flat dies and try to level all this stuff out. Alright, well here's day one after about an hour of forging. I got it out to a knife-ish shaped billet. So my hope is that I can get the knife that I want out of this without ruining the pattern. That's kind of why I didn't forge it shape closer to shape. This will hopefully display a pretty nice pattern. We'll see. All right, since I don't have any vermiculite, I'm going to leave this in the forge to cool down. Since we're in North Carolina at 75 degrees, hopefully that'll soften it up quite a bit. Took me a little over an hour and a half to get it to the point from being a billet about like this into a probably close to 9-inch knife blank. Hopefully I'll be able to get the shape I want. We'll see. I don't know what I'm doing. So when it comes down to it, hopefully I'll end up with something nice, because I am just getting lucky at the end of the day. All right, so here's kind of where we're at the moment. This is the templates that I use. I make on NanoCAD. That way I can make some of my knives somewhat repeatable, even if they're forged, they come out somewhat the same. I've already started kind of cleaning this billet up. I forgot to record it, but So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around, cut the big chunks off, and then we'll clean up the profile on the grinder. The profile's been cut out. Now it's time to drill the holes and get the bevels kind of worked out. Also need to file in the sharpening choil. Alright, so here's our final shape before we go to do the bevels. I ended up grinding this little piece off right here just because I didn't like the way the point looked. After I drilled the hole in it, it just didn't look right. So I ended up taking that off, shortened the blade about 1/4 of an inch just to make the handle match. It's still a full 4-finger handle, just doesn't have the little wonky point on the back there. So got our pinholes drilled. I'm gonna rough in the bevels with a 36 grit, and then it'll be ready to heat treat. Here's after the rough grind. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and I'm going to do about 3 normalizing cycles, and then we're going to quench it in Parks 50. Something worth mentioning is whenever you're trying to heat treat or normalize in a forge where you can't control the temperature exactly, is to put a little piece of angle iron in there to help even out the heat. That'll make the heat on the blade much smoother and help you get a better all-around even heat treat out of a rinky-dink old forge. Alright, I kind of feel like I have shortened the handle a little bit too much, so to keep with full disclosure and show mistakes that I've made and ways that I try to fix them, what I'm going to try to do is, instead of normalizing, I'm going to actually go through and I'm going to draw that tang out just a little bit more and thin it out, and hopefully get the extra little 1/8 inch of length that I need. So I think I was able to get about another 1/8 inch out of the handle by forging, using the press to forge out that end just a little bit where I ground it off. Hopefully that works. I think it looks okay. So now we've resumed our normalizing cycles, and we're going to do that 3 times and then quench in parts 50. So after heat treat, I tempered it 2 times in the oven for an hour and 20 minutes a piece, just to account for inconsistencies in the heat. Also, when this thing came out of the heat treat, it was drastically warped. So I had to jig it. Basically all that was a piece of angle iron. I think I used aluminum because it's all I've got. 2 C-clamps and a little piece of scrap metal to pull it back into straight. Did that on both temper cycles. After the first temper cycle, it actually overcorrected, so I pulled it back the other direction on the second temper cycle, and I have a straight blade now. So everything is good to go. In the next video, what I'm going to do is get the bevels finished ground, get the sides cleaned up a little bit. I don't want them completely cleaned up, but they're going to be cleaned up a little bit. And then also get the handle material picked out, and get it glued up. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. It really helps me out, and I will see you next time.